there's a level of guilt that comes and a level of shame. And that's also something I feel really needs to be talked about in this entanglement dynamic, because the empath has to get beyond the guilt and the shame to be in their soul's plan and purpose. Otherwise, it will be stolen from you. You may not survive. You may not survive mentally, physically. You'll end up with disease. You'll end up with emotional trauma that is almost, in some cases, just irreparable. And I don't say that to scare anyone. I say it out of a reality. I've listened to enough licensed, trained psychiatrists, psychologists that will say that the immune system is heavily influenced by toxic relationships. And so there is lots of reasons to get out. And sometimes getting out also helps the narcissist hit the bottom that they need to hit, so that they do make different choices and decisions. And maybe you have a thought on that. Maybe you'll say, no, that's not true.
No, I do.
Welcome back to part 2 of this series on illuminating the empath-narcissist entanglement. In this episode, Adam and I explore one of the most misunderstood dynamics in relationships: the belief that love means sacrifice. We break down how empaths often give from devotion, while narcissistic patterns take from protection, and how both sides become trapped in a cycle neither person can sustain. Adam shares the moment he recognized that what he thought was love was actually emotional survival. And we unpack how this realization becomes the turning point for genuine awakening. This conversation is about reclaiming truth, rediscovering sovereignty, and understanding that love was never meant to cost you your light. Let's begin.
Okay, welcome back. We're here for part 2.
Wonderful. Great to be back. And where are we going to go?
Yeah, in part 1, we talked about the making of a narcissist, and I think some really juicy nuggets about how people become narcissists and how people can become empaths. And yeah, we ended the last segment talking about some specifics that you gave to me about how you thought a narcissist might handle me, Beth Bell, as an empath. So I like that because it takes it into a fictitious realm, but potentially a very real realm, meaning that it's your idea coming from a narcissist of what that might look like. I'm going to read that list again.
Please.
Real quick. And then there's also another list that I know you had given me that was a list of narcissistic behaviors. And,
okay.
And I also have a list. Oh, we got 3 lists to go through.
We can go all over it. Sounds fun, but I love this piece again.
Okay. So I'm going to go into this. And just for anyone who's tuning in, if you haven't already seen the first part of this, please go to the link below and you'll be able to get it. Okay.
By the way, I'll preface what you're going to share, my answer to it. And keep in mind, I know that answer because that's who I was.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yes.
So it's very personal.
Yes.
Very personal, although not very flattering in any way whatsoever. But
yeah, and thank you for saying that, because I think, again, I just really want to honor the work that you've done and your willingness to come forward and even have this discussion, because it's not, I've never had an opportunity to actually speak from a very spiritual awakening perspective with a narcissist and a self-proclaimed narcissist. It's not like you're kicking and screaming saying, someone else told me I was a narcissist, but I'm not really a narcissist, which is usually what happens. So I honor this discussion. It's very sacred for me, sacred for you, and I think sacred for a lot of the viewers, that there's going to be material in here that we can harvest and really leverage as these pearls of wisdom for our own growth. So whether you're the empath or you're the narcissist or someone that's in this type of entanglement, or perhaps you're just an awakening agent out there who's feeling like your relationship just isn't quite right for you and it's not helping to catapult you, I think you're still going to get some juicy nuggets out of this that are going to help you decide if that person has earned the right to be left. Okay, let's jump in. I want to get going on this list. One of the previous times we were together, I had said to you, after a long discussion about narcissism, I said, how would a narcissist handle me? And this was the list. A narcissist male with Beth Bell would be impulsive, manipulate and control the power of who you are. Deep sexual innuendos, control and repress you in your power. Retribution of how he was treated in his early years. Doesn't see you, sees something he wants to conquer. A projected part of their life they never lived. A man so obsessed in his own story, he can't even be with you. A projection of the unloved parts of himself. So I would love to go through this list in whatever way you feel is appropriate. If we want to keep it more ethereal in the sense that this isn't we are not in a relationship, we weren't in a relationship, but this was how you as a narcissist saw someone might treat me. And then I'd also like to talk about some of my experiences and my list of being an empath and how it felt to be in this entanglement with a narcissist or someone on the narcissistic spectrum. But before we do, I would like to jump right in and ask you,
Sure.
You're saying that a narcissistic male with me would be very impulsive. In what way? Is there words that you can use to describe more of that?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. And I want to also frame this in something that you brought up so importantly, to know when it's time to get out of a narcissistic relationship. And it can be one thing to be being abused verbally or physically or other things and still stay in that relationship. And I would pose a question that as we journey through these questions to just ask yourself, what am I to learn here? And if you've received the learning, it is definitely time to go.
Yeah.
And to ask for that learning, because otherwise we keep coming back to these very unhealthy dynamics.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's see what we can do to support people and support whatever part of this dynamic of empath narcissism is for you to really help you navigate beyond this into your own truth and own beauty. So the question was particular to
a narcissistic male being impulsive.
Yes. And it goes back a little bit to what I was saying about the 3 types of men. And the third type was the Renaissance man, the man that has matured beyond narcissism. We got a little hung up in the dangerous man, but the dangerous man is very impulsive. And is often, maybe they're doing things even when they're driving their car and they do something just gets very aggressive, or maybe they're just reacting. Narcissism is a very reactionary state, and that often leads to just impulse. And hence why there's so much addiction, sexual addiction, emotionally abusive addiction, substance addictions from narcissistic men. So they have a tendency to react, and often react in ways that are very sudden and perhaps even very shocking.
Yeah.
And it can catch you.
And what do you think the background of that is?
Fear. It's a fear-based
Fear
response.
in respect to the person sitting next to them, fear about life in general, fear.
It's all about life in general. And oftentimes it doesn't have anything to do with the person in front of them. It has to do with their conditioning, fear. Again, of not being seen, not being heard. And then it becomes just an overreaction, a fear of being abandoned in my particular case. So fear is often the main driver of that. And as we know, the consequences of reacting from that place don't generally have a good outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're going to get more into that with some of the other lists. All right. So the next one was manipulate and control the power of who you are.
Well, this goes back to classic Jungian psychology, and in the male world, female have a similar thing. In the female world is projection of their anima, and that is the idea of that what they have around the female and what the female should be. This is why women that are involved with narcissists, they don't feel seen, and because they're not seen. They're with the truth of who they are, is rarely part of the narcissist perception. They want to see the female for what they want, sex or roles in their life, and to behave accordingly. So that emerges from that kind of place of projection of their thoughts of what a woman's role is in their life, and it's really almost tragic to be on the receiving end of that. And I became quite adept, and I'm not proud of that projection, and it's taken deep work and deep painful parts of my life to be able to even come into a deeper relationship with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No,
these are big things, and I know that hopefully that was grounded enough where somebody can understand.
Yeah, I think so. And then the next one, it leads right into it, which is deep sexual innuendos.
That's an interesting one. And I say that because obviously we're living in a very patriarchal society. Misogyny is very common. What's happened with the women's movement from the 70s and onward, forward, and then the reemergence of this kind of misogynist type of behavior and these innuendos as female being objectified. And from a man's perspective, it's one thing to honor the feminine beauty, and then it's another thing to manipulate and want to control it as a means to an end. So innuendos do show up often, as a matter of fact. And in male conversations, I hear actually fairly regularly still.
Yeah.
And it's still very prevalent. And I get that.
Can you give us an example?
I'm a little remiss to doing that, but it could just be really, it could be as simple as saying something is demeaning about a woman's breast. It's like her headlamps kind of thing.
Okay.
And these are real innuendos, and when really something that I'm no saint here.
Yeah.
So I get it, but this is still continues to be very prevalent.
Yeah.
And when the innuendos are showing up in the presence of your relationship, then that is a clear sign of that projection of the animus.
Yeah.
And of course, it's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to say
No.
else, but it's obvious.
Yes. Thank you. Control and repress you in your power.
Yeah, the narcissist cannot have anybody that has any true power. Narcissists are terrified of powerful women.
Yeah. But they attract them.
They attract them because they want to conquer women like that. And it turns them on to do that, to be in that conquering type of mode, it goes back to classic control.
Yeah.
But it's also fear, because deep down, the narcissist knows that part of their own power, so to speak, if you would even want to call it that, has nothing on the power of the feminine and the truth of who anybody is, whether you're male or female. If you're in your authenticity, then you're in your power and in your light, and the narcissist does not do so well with that and is threatened by that.
Deep down, you said that they are threatened by the feminine.
Yes.
Yeah. And the power of the feminine.
Yes.
Okay. And why do you think that is?
It's just the sheer fact that the feminine is the all-pervasive power that gives birth to.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And although it's not necessarily a conscious thought by the male, but unconsciously men know that the power of that is really is significant as they live life. And that is the most powerful force on earth.
Yeah. And I feel like it's ancestral, most likely, from the father figure.
Certainly.
But also in the collective. And as you said, there's just a lot right now that's shifting and changing between the masculine and the feminine, and how men and women are showing up. But in something like family constellation work, unless we stop the pattern, we give it back, we have awareness of it. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be a high percentage of men who have no idea that they're even carrying that program.
Oh, I don't know the science on it, but the vast majority do. Very few really,
They do know.
they do, vast majority do not know
Okay.
they're carrying that. And we're seeing it in a lot of places where in the zeitgeist with kind of the trad wives and the traditional wife structure or the reemergence of that. We're seeing it in orthodoxy and religion. It continues to be very pervasive. We're seeing it certainly in our current administration that's a big conversation, but you can see the role that women play and their, or whatever that is playing into the narcissist.
Yeah.
That's what that is doing. It's quite an orchestration, but it's a false structure.
Okay. Retribution of how he was treated in his early years.
It just speaks volumes to being the wounded child. It just speaks volume to what the narcissist does. The narcissist is a reactionary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you are. They don't even see you as they project that nature onto another being, another human being. And it's insidious and it's very destructive. And as we well know, it's murderous.
So what are they falling in love with? The game?
I wouldn't say falling in love is a big word. And I'm not suggesting that I wouldn't say they're falling in love with it. I know that's not what I thought of it. That was not really part of the equation. It was more an obsession,
Okay.
a self-obsession that was what they were in love with.
Okay.
They were in love with that part of themselves.
But what are they in love with of the woman?
Oh, because they're in love with the woman that allows this to happen because it reinforces and affirms their narcissism.
Okay.
It's very insidious.
Okay.
So the woman that will play into that and
Yeah.
support that is simply reinforcing the power, the false power
Yeah.
of the narcissist.
Okay. But specific to retribution of how he was treated in his early years, is that about not seeing someone, not being seen, so they're not trying to not see somebody else? What is that about the retribution of how he was treated?
Well, it's anger.
Okay.
There are males that are narcissistic that aren't necessarily angry,
Okay.
but they can be in other forms of deeper sadness.
Anger is just suppressed emotion. It's an emotion that wasn't able to be expressed, that
Exactly.
got pushed down,
Also.
and that creates it to be anger.
Yeah.
So it's an emotion, whether it was go to your room and stop making noise, or I'm leaving you home alone for a whole weekend by yourself and you don't know what to do as a small child.
Yeah, exactly.
Or perhaps there's something bigger and more traumatic, like some kind of abuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At some point in time, this is not applicable to every narcissist, male or female, but I think we all know that there are men that hate women secretly, and there are women that hate men secretly. And these are two insidious forms of narcissism and being bitter and frustrated.
Yeah.
And of repression. And it's very evident right now,
Yeah.
I think, in the culture and in the zeitgeist as things begin to change. And we're going to see a lot more of it. And one of the reasons why I'm here with you, Beth, is because of this crossing this bridge around this topic.
Yes, it's becoming bigger and having a greater impact on awakening in general. But it doesn't always have to be negative. We'll talk more about that.
Absolutely.
Okay. The next one is a projected part of their life they never lived. So what did they not live?
So this is classic Jungian psychology. And when somebody they have a part of their life that seems very unfulfilled.
Okay.
So narcissists have a part of themselves that's hasn't been fulfilled because it's almost endless. It's an empty well, but and the idea of this is that it becomes a projection of what they've not experienced in their life, and most likely will never experience.
Yeah.
So the narcissist is through his own drive and projection of his animus of what a woman should be, is the very thing of which doesn't allow chases a woman away.
Yeah.
And also it becomes the part of their life that they'll never be able to experience this.
And we have been talking a lot about the romantic empath narcissist entanglement, but there's also many types of entanglements with parents. And I think in this case, a lot of times a parent will project onto a child some aspect that they weren't able to live, that they see now their child is living, and then they have resentment towards it. It can be really toxic in that sense. But we'll talk, I think, in broader terms about different types of relationships.
Sure.
So we're still staying on this theme of, the romantic love relationship, but it's so prevalent
at work. It's
absolutely,
it's across the board. That's
Yeah.
a very good point to emphasize that.
Yeah. Okay. And the next one is a man so obsessed in his own story, he can't even be with you.
That's very powerful and profound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that, imagine if you, again, you've been involved in a relationship, a marriage, or whatever it may be for years or decades, and you're sitting there and that man is yet to see you.
What if they show up in the bedroom though? And their intimacy is off the charts.
Yeah, then I would consider thinking about what real true intimacy is.
Yeah.
So there's the depth of it, and and it can be off the charts in one way, but very unfulfilling in another. And the one way can maybe get you by, but the other way, which is the deep emotional intimacy, and narcissists are not available for deep emotional intimacy.
Yeah, and I also want to just continue to remind everyone that there's spectrums. There are spectrums. It's not that every narcissist can't have an emotional intimacy bond that's healthy, because there's spectrums of this, and there's parts of themselves that are involved in this that some parts are more healed than others. And I think there's so many dynamics.
I'd take a little bit of an exception to that. And the reason, just to touch on that real quickly, is that I thought that was true for me.
Okay.
And it is maybe to each.
You thought what was true for you?
That there is a level of my own narcissism where there is that level of connection. But until they really moved away from that and experienced deeper intimate connection, a deeper thing, it was like, that's fine, but being fully present, being fully in the experience of another is quite different, almost night and day.
Okay.
That's perspective that has a fair level of emotional intelligence. And what it's the point really maybe that you're saying is, if it works for you and you feel it's healthy and vibrant, then that's what matters.
Yeah.
But if it's some level of it, it's not fulfilling, or there must be more there, or it dies and peters out, then that's a sign that it's reached a floor.
Yeah.
And where does that want to go from here? And we've all been in that journey of relationships. I know I have.
Yeah.
To really go deeper into that place. But it's not to say there's a right or wrong where you are in your journey.
And I think every relationship can have like that honeymoon period, and there can be parts where you do start to not necessarily always grow apart, but that the sexual intimacy and chemistry can wane just of life circumstances in a normal, natural relationship. But what I think I'm hearing you say, specific to more narcissistic relationships, that there may be a dynamic that after a certain period of time that it is that they really can't go deeper with you. They can't go deeper into that real soulful opening, soulful driven place, that they may be good in the beginning, but there may be a time where they hit a capacity level because they're not that deep with themselves.
Very much.
Therefore, they can't be deep with someone else on a bigger level.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you think that they also feel that within themselves? Oh, I'm not able to quite be there.
They'll withdraw and step away, or have other types of reactions that are more, I have to push you away, and it's too close. It exposes.
Say more about the pushing away. What does that look like?
Oh, that it can be as innocuous as just a little bit of ignoring, but it's generally more passive aggressive.
Okay.
And it could be known as sabotaging the relationship or sabotaging the moment. or may come with an apology here and there, but it's very shallow.
Yeah.
And this is also classic behavior of a narcissist. They're very good and they're very subtle about doing this. And it's you got to pay attention to these little pieces of what's coming through, because these are signs of that maybe you've reached the extent of where you can go.
Yeah.
And you may want to go deeper.
Yeah.
And you may want to go a lot further.
Yeah. One of the words you used, I don't know, it wasn't in this conversation, but one of our conversations, you used the word narcissists are very stealth. And I was like, wow, that's a really powerful word. So as we move into the next list, which was a list that you sent me from probably the internet or from somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to hone in on that word stealth.
Yes.
Because I think that's a lot of deep juice in there.
Yes.
And not just the surface of this list of narcissistic type traits. So I'm going to pull that forward 1 second.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So the narcissistic checklist that you had sent to me was number 1, constant need for attention. They crave admiration like air. If you're not giving it, they'll find someone else who will. So tell me about the stealth part of this too.
Never enough on that. It's a bottomless pit what a narcissist craves. They're often pretty good at, I would say often pretty good at almost not saying anything about it, but then they will find themselves in other places away from the relationship. Maybe they're at the club, maybe they're out drinking with the guys, maybe they're out having an affair. This behavior that they like to keep cloaked. And so
The need for attention.
the need for attention, but they actually will cloak it, and because they don't want to appear weak either.
How do they cloak the need for attention?
I would say my experience with cloaking the need for attention is it could be depending on the dynamic of the narcissist and the personality of the narcissist. It could just be being quiet. Actually, they'll be played the wounded one. So codependent. Most of these relationships with narcissism, it's a level of codependency. And so they will play and manipulate that accordingly, but they need somebody to play with them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think about that constant need for attention as being really gregarious, outgoing, very charismatic, very dynamic,
Not at all.
Okay.
But there's other behaviors that surround that, which in its worst iteration, they become manifestations of illnesses or accidents.
Okay.
Different level. These are repressions of wanting to be seen and be heard, and things happen that are not so pleasant.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, lack of empathy. Your feelings don't matter unless they affect them.
We were talking a little bit about this, and I don't know much more I can really say about the lack of empathy and understanding here. I think we touched on this pretty well.
Do they truly not have the ability to feel what it's like to have the experience that they're witnessing a loved one have? Or is it that they just don't want to give acknowledgement? Is it intentional that they are like, I'm intentionally going to not have empathy? Not that they're using those words, but I'm intentionally not going to acknowledge that they're hurt or acknowledge that they're concerned about something.
I think every human being has the capability to have empathy and compassion and kindness. Put all these things together. And then the classic thing for men is, are you weak? Is this as a form of weakness? Or they were often denied understanding and love and care. I've met many, and I've been in relationship with women where them themselves will go there.
Yeah.
Well, because that wasn't available to them.
Yeah.
And this is a strange thing in relationship dynamics, but let's keep in mind that in the narcissist relationship, empathic, everything is amplified.
Okay.
So there's, like you said, it's a level of spectrum.
Okay.
So lots of these situations are related to low-level spectrum. Once you get into a higher spectrum of narcissism and codependency, in empathic nature, rescuer nature, then these kind of things are really difficult to navigate, as we know. And so I've played a bit of this spectrum over the years, and also quite high up in the narcissist spectrum.
Yeah.
So this is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gaslighting. Number 3. They twist reality until you question your own sanity.
Exactly. We live in an age of gaslighting. Gaslighted in our media, gaslighted in our lives, gaslighted by our boss.
Share specifically. So if someone doesn't understand the meaning of gaslighting, what is that?
And, the experience of gaslighting is you may voice or share a thought or a feeling that's relevant for you, and the narcissist will not acknowledge that, whereas somebody that is more present for you is going to acknowledge what you're saying, acknowledge what you're feeling. And I kind of these days operate by, I personally care less about what somebody's saying is factually true and more why it's true for them.
Okay.
So focusing on why it's true for you, whereas in the gaslighting phase, then it didn't matter why it was true factually or why it's true for you. Neither of those things matter. What matters is just basically running right over those thoughts, factually founded, well-founded or not, and just saying this is the way it is. We see this is very prolific with the great divide of how we approach our world today, and it's our way and there's no other way. Let's just ignore and run right over what everybody is saying, be it in our politics and in so many different ways. And it's a major thing, but being in that kind of relationship is painful.
Yeah.
Painful.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, entitlement.
Yeah.
They believe they deserve special treatment always.
Why would it be any other way?
And what's the stealth part of this?
Oh my goodness! Thanks for bringing it back to the stealth part of it. It took me such a long while to really understand this piece, Beth, because in the abandonment idea of abandonment, for example, I want to be special. I want to be different. I want to be seen. And the whole...
Why is that? Because you went so long not being seen when you were little?
Yeah, exactly.
And so now you're like trying to turn the tables, like you didn't do it to me when I was little.
It becomes very much that. And the stealth part of it, I don't know. I'd have to think about a little bit why that would fit in from a stealth part of it. But I always found that in the journey of some of these high points, these characteristic of narcissism, there was always a subtle layer. There was the outer layer, and then there was a subtle, deeper layer.
Okay.
So it was a bit of may have been calmer collective here, and then subtly down below, this is the stealth kind of nature of what's moving deep within my own place that's being repressed or not being able to be revealed in my life. So yeah, these are all really key things. And I know we're hitting a lot at a very high level, but that's the nature where we are today in this conversation.
Important.
There's deeper things we can do here too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 5 is control tactics. From who you talk to how you think, everything must serve their ego.
This can come from as being as stealth as asking a question.
Okay.
Or creating doubt.
Okay.
Or it could become so obvious that it just becomes pure manipulation. You're wrong.
Okay.
I control the bank account.
Okay.
These kind of things, these are all very, we don't have any money. Can be very manipulative type of thing.
What about in wealthy situations when there's a great wealth?
To me, I think that kind of structure can have the most sense of lack. And it's also that those are structures that are often most patriarchal.
Yeah.
That's still very, but there is a lot of new wealth and new riches. And then that can become, just take the credit card and go do whatever you're going to do to try to just feed that kind of drug to somebody, so to speak, of satisfying and appeasing somebody.
Okay. Oh, to give them the money to spend. Okay.
Yeah, to be in that place. So the dynamic it's obviously a very tricky dynamic.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of subtlety to it. There's a lot of undercurrent. And the beauty, I think, of, at least from what I've noticed and learned about women in my life, and the blessing of the gift of the teachings of the women that have been in my life, is the level of discernment when trusted is what's required here. And that's not up for the narcissist or the man that's up for each of us to really own.
Yeah.
And empower ourselves.
And again, I want to say that all narcissists are not men. So there's lots of material we could talk about here, but we're specifically on this a little bit more from the male perspective because you're speaking from a male perspective. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Number 6, victim playing. They're never at fault. Somehow you always end up apologizing.
Look no further than our president. He's never at fault with anything. And that's an extreme version of it. And everything about the narcissist is against the world. The world has not treated them right. It's not doing the way they want it. They never acknowledge others. They never acknowledge they're wrong. That's classic.
Or do they acknowledge that they're wrong, but in a really twisted way to try to make it?
Well, if they even get to that place, I know in my narcissism, victimhoodness, it was, I had a reason to do this. I had a reason to be.
You thought you had a reason to be.
I thought, reason to be. So it's a little bit of excuse making.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not acknowledging or.
Because of your childhood.
Yeah.
For you. Okay.
It's not. Subtly, that's what becomes self. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
A little twisted, a little convoluted.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7, charm to chaos cycle. One day they love bomb you. The next they destroy you emotionally.
You're lucky if you can get a day without having that happen. It could be a matter of a minute or two.
And why do you think that's happening? Like from your perspective, when you were doing it, did you know you were doing it? Did you know you were going from love bombing to withdrawing?
It's the wound and it's the shadow that can be triggered at any minute. And I know those. I can relive. I can think about moments that you can get triggered, even just simultaneous, almost just being in a most pleasant, wonderful place. But then there's something that comes in.
Yeah.
And someone very close to me, had this very thing happen to me where I was in a loving, caring, kind place. And then I got triggered around a statement that was made about women in my life. And then all of a sudden it triggered me into being defensive about this. And of course, it's two kind of shadowy places in people meeting. And it turned on the dime. It's a bit insidious.
Yeah.
It's like, where the F did that come out of all of a sudden? Like that monster just rears its head.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if everybody listening here hasn't seen that or experienced that either in one way or the other.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more of this, but this is what we can pay attention to, and we can, let's just say, heal it, or we can certainly take care of ourselves by moving away from these type of situations.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a lot more about that in relationship to trauma bonding, but that's coming up. Okay. So number 8, no real accountability. They apologize just to shut you up, not to change.
That's right. Yeah. That's just.
And what's the stealth version of that too?
That's just lip service and just kind of appeasing to get an excuse to get out of the moment and get beyond even having to go anywhere deep with owning responsibility. Yeah. As soon as you touch any kind of level of responsibility, it becomes gaslighting again, and how wrong.
But there was a point where you actually took this to a whole nother level in your life, and you said, I am switching this. I am not doing this. I am taking accountability.
Absolutely.
And so you didn't get struck by lightning from what I know. Like, what was the big shift that really dropped you to your knees? And do you think that's what it takes, is that you have to be dropped to your knees as a narcissist? And is it, what does it take?
There's the classic journey that I believe we all take for our own healing and evolution, and let's just say awakening, if you name that, or opening to your greater consciousness or truth or whatever it is for you. There's a classic journey, but the narcissist journey through that can be quite circuitous, and it can involve quite several incidences that are required in order for that to effectuate even a beginning of a change. And for some, it comes too late because they have a health crisis and they die, or they have the total loss. Obviously, that could come through a financial loss, where a lot of people, a lot of men, they just commit suicide. That's their way out. The ability to move through anything in life, Beth, is a result of beginning to own your own shit. Yeah. And so the narcissist, like it or not, it necessitates almost a brutal process. Yep. And I only know from my own deep pain and the level of what it feels like, the depth of what it is. It's excruciating, and thinking that for me, it's maybe I'd just be better off dead, because it's such a difficult place because of that amplification of those narcissistic tendencies. Yeah. But the only way to do this is in and through it. Yeah. Yeah. So there's no way. Go through it. No way around it. We all think the prescriptions or these kind of medications and these kind of things, we're going to do it, but no, it just doesn't. And many just basically finish their dangerous man journey by falling to fate of their own journey.
Okay, so number 9.
Yes, number 9.
Triangulation. They involve others, exes, family, coworkers, to make you feel insecure.
Well, triangulation's kind of a common attribute of very dysfunctional types of scenarios, and so specific to narcissist, and obviously the subtle nature, the passive aggressive nature of narcissist, the stealth, whatever you want to call it. The triangulation obviously is just a classic form of playing one person, playing one thing or one object off of another. And we've all engaged and entangled in these triangulations, and they just don't end well.
The one thing I wanted to say is, I think when you said we all, actually, I don't know that's true. Yeah. That I don't know that everyone understands triangulation. Okay. I do agree with you that it's very prevalent, but not a narcissist triangulation. Oh. It's a very, to your point, stealth way of doing things. So that, I feel, is something that your friends and family may not understand, because they may actually be part of the triangulation. They are. And that those are the people that are being targeted.
And unbeknownst to them. Yeah, absolutely. We can see this with even if it's just simple things like money that's triangulating a relationship. Yes. Or it's involving other types of a family member, and what's wrong with you? You should go spend time with your sister or whatever. Yeah. These are all forms of triangulations, and all forms of deflection, and all forms of not owning your own shit, not taking responsibility, and it's manipulation and control. It's real simple. Yeah.
And I think what was coming before, it's now coming back around, is building that, I like to call it a spiritual toolbox. Mm-hmm. And I say spiritual because it's that toolbox that really helps you get to know thyself, and that helps you anchor back in, and that helps you get beyond those shadow aspects. I think a lot of, let's say, light workers, way showers, healers, whatever the terminology that's used today, we're really focused on building these toolboxes, and which is great. And we often want to give our tools to others. And while we can lead and we can show the way with our toolboxes, we can't give away our tools, because that other person still has to cultivate their own tools.
Sure.
And just way back when, this is the analogy that's coming, when the Indians made their little arrowheads. If they gave away their arrowhead and didn't teach someone else to make their arrowheads, then they're giving away their tool. We have to, just like the oxygen mask, you have to put yours on first and then help the other. There's lots of ways that we get in this interesting dynamic of thinking that we're saving someone when it's not about saving them. It's about showing them a toolbox, inviting them to a toolbox, but also knowing when they decide to not build their own toolbox.
Yeah.
That's also another really big flag to say, okay, perhaps this is finalized now. You need to develop your own toolbox. And after so many times of someone saying, oh yes, I'm trying, I'm doing, I'm changing, but they're not really taking ownership of their own toolbox.
It's such an important point about spiritual toolbox. And I'll just buy this tool to put in my box. No, that's not what we're talking about.
Or I'll just take this tool.
Or we'll just take this from somebody else. Or it's more, that's the prescription model, or I'll just acquire, which is classic in the material world, but it's just, we're talking about the spiritual power, spiritual truth.
Yeah.
And that only comes through your own direct experience and knowledge and attending to your own healing and your own growth. And then ultimately you have a tool in your box that you can use going forward.
Yeah.
And that's building your toolbox, as you're mentioning. And others, oftentimes want somebody else to be taking care of that for them, or taking care of them, or tending to these things. And they may even be in places, well, yes, they could be in the yes of, I'm in this and I'm this and this, but that's just not the case.
So why is it that you think that they don't really want to do it? They say that they do, they play the game that they do. They want to keep that person. Oftentimes they really don't want to start over.
It's fear.
Okay.
It's actually fear. The greatest fear that people have, they say it's fear of death, of dying. That's legitimate. That is a human fear, obviously, but it's to the idea of the separate self, classically known as this idea of our ego and our identity. To a narcissist, that is on steroids.
Yeah.
And to a narcissist, and even to the simplest of folks like ourselves, and narcissist or not, it is a place where they know that the coming to that own healing and that own awakening of that inner being is an annihilation of this idea of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that's an oversimplification, but that's it.
Yeah. That's great. Okay. So that checklist you gave me, and it's actually a mental health, you called it from a mental health checklist. So very interesting. Now I'm feeling called. I was not planning on this, but I'm feeling called to share something of my own list that prior to this, I wasn't expecting to necessarily bring it forward, but I want to, because I want to bring it forward from the empath perspective. And I also have something to share that I need to just look up that has to do with different types of empaths. So I think all narcissists shouldn't be clumped into the most intense spectrum. Everyone's still different. Everyone still has their own nuances. There's a lot of through lines, but I feel the same way about empaths. I think empaths are all at different stages of their growth.
You're right.
I've had experiences as an empath with a narcissist when I was completely ill-equipped and unprepared, had no idea what the word narcissist even meant. And that's the one, as I mentioned earlier, that I talk about in Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. And then I also have other experiences with narcissists. So I've put together a list just as a reminder to myself, which is what I'm going to go through. But I want to talk about the types of empaths real quick.
Let's keep in mind that empathy by nature is that we've had some degree or another of our own experience to be able to be empathic, to be in empathy for someone else that's having an experience. So it's quite an intersection you're speaking to, but being empathic and being with that narcissist.
For sure.
And it's not to admonish either, but both have levels of responsibility and ownership and growth here. And I've loved reading your book because you speak about that growth through in and through at least this one relationship in particular. It was a little bit, wasn't just the one, but this was the one.
This is the eye opener. Yes, for sure.
It's going to open your eyes.
Yes. Okay, so I found my little list here of different types of empath. This is some work that I did with ChatGPT, so I don't have sources from it exactly, but they resonated. And I think that a lot of times people think an empath may be with a narcissist because they're sharing wounds with the narcissist. And while that can be, and there can be abandonment that both people experience, that's not always the case, and definitely not the case for me. The other that a lot of times people want to project onto the empath, which can be true, but I don't feel for me, is self-worth. So as an outsider, especially looking at an empath, you're like, why would you stay with this? Why would you continue this? They must not think much of themselves. And so I think there's a lot to be said about the different types of empaths. And so let's go right into them. I've got so much I want to say about that.
Greatly anticipated.
Okay. So one type is the hero, the healer empath. And I would say that's my primary archetype. And it goes back to the story that I shared in our part 1, where I just come from such a solid, loving background that I just feel, and I've done so much spiritual work that I just feel like, oh, if I just love more, if I just shine brighter, if I just, and so it's not that I want to be the hero as it's listed here, but there's still that element of it because I'm still thinking that I can actually transmute it enough, do the work. Not that I want to do the work for them, but still in the shadow of it, it's still there. Because if they're not showing us that they're able to do the work, then we're in that entanglement, trying to help them see. And when people aren't ready to awaken, they're not ready. A narcissist or not, we have to still have this discernment around the energy that we put into relationships. Because if someone's not ready, they're not ready. And we can't light the fire under their butt per se. We can in some ways, but it's still up to them. So the shadow expression or the core belief of the hero empath healer is my light can save them, which is basically what I just said. My love can save them. My love can help them see.
But is there some way, Beth, that you're looking to save yourself as well?
Let's talk about the shadow.
Yeah.
The shadow expression over-identifies as a catalyst for others' transformation. And the lesson is to release the savior identity and trust that others must choose their own evolution. And the integration is to shift from rescuing to radiating. You can inspire healing through your embodiment, not through carrying someone else's density. So, yeah, and I think that's...
You're doing a great job at that, by the way.
Thank you.
I think there's been a good evolution from this story.
Thank you, and I hope so, because we're all evolving. I think my message to the world, whether it's through my books or through my show, is to keep going, keep doing the work, because it's work, but it doesn't have to, I don't even like the word work. It's evolution, and evolution brings openings, and openings bring greater consciousness and expansion. And who wants to stay in the same spot?
Yes.
Sometimes it feels comfortable, but it's really, we all want to be in some level of evolution and motion. Otherwise, we're not alive. That's what being alive is all about.
That's what creation is. It's all around us. Why can't we? The Native Americans refer to this as walking the beauty way.
Yeah.
Which is to be alive with the force of our truth and who we are. But of course, it brings forth just the love of ourselves and the love of being in life and the celebration of it. And this is the beauty beyond the shadow. But you got to go through the shadow.
You got to go through the shadow. Yeah. The second is the spiritual idealist. The core belief is love is enough to heal everything. The shadow expression confuses compassion with tolerance, minimizes red flags in the name of enlightenment, and oftentimes because we can see the wound. We can, oh gosh, we know their background. Oh, we know their history. Oh, we know their childhood. Oh. It's that like over empathetic way. Of course, we honor that. It's deep. They're deep wounds and they're to be honored, but not at our own demise. And not at our own dampening of our own light, which I don't think anyone sets out to do intentionally, but I think it is what happens oftentimes for the empath.
Yeah. And how did you find that to be a part of your own empathic journey, that one specifically?
Yeah, I think
compared to the first one?
Both of them, I think, are both very relevant in many ways, because I felt that if I waited, if I stuck in there, that it's almost going to change. And I'm going to talk about this more, but I'm going to say it now because it's coming forward. It's also about the trauma bond. And the trauma bond is a very stealth thing in and of itself. That there's a famous lady on YouTube that now talks about this. She gives an example. I love how she talks about it. I don't know that I'll do it justice, but she talks about how when you go to a slot machine, you're putting in coins and you're continue to do it knowing the odds. And you do it because you think that you might hit the jackpot. And while I don't exactly love that analogy of a narcissist empath, it is like that we give and then they take and then they make one step forward and we go, oh, they've made a step forward. Oh, there's something really good here. Oh, they're really working on it. And then it's, oh, and if they just make another step and they make another step, the jackpot will come, which is they will wake up, want to do their inner work, do the shadow work, and we can be together and live happily ever after. That's the dream of the empath.
That's the dream.
And that's also what creates a big part of the trauma bond, which I want to talk about, but I'm going to keep going here on the 3 different types. And so just to finish up on number 2, the lesson here is to understand that love and truth must coexist. Love heals through clarity, not through denial. So sometimes there's just a denial that happens. It's intentional, unintentional, because again, we see the wounds and we have such great empathy for it.
Yes.
And want to help.
Yes, there's for my empathetic nature and in denying my own, coming into this part of the journey.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that the narcissist will at some point become the empathetic, flip the role a little bit and having to go through that part of the journey as well.
You mean as they're awakening?
As they're awakening.
Yes.
So they come
if
to
they awaken.
They come to that place, and then there can be a bit of this delusion that we create in this journey by denying.
Yes.
Just being in denial of what is really there.
So I feel that from what I've read, so it's not even what I feel. From what I've read, it's very challenging for a narcissist to change. And yet I am still that hero, hopeful empath. I really feel compelled for this interview this discussion that we're having, because I think you've broken an incredible mold. And I really want to honor that, because I hope that the listeners will be able to listen to this to empower themselves to either wake up if you're a narcissist, or wake up as an empath and leave if your narcissist isn't and you've learned the lessons. And also to just give the hope that narcissists can do the deep inner work. You are a living example of this. And yet to just reemphasize that as an empath, not to stay for that hope. Because
absolutely not.
Yeah.
There is a sobering reality of it, to see things how they are, not for how you want them to be. And at the same time, the ability for a narcissist to evolve and heal their life and do really the deep shadow work, while all that entails, it's a path. There's a pathway to do this. And at the same time, and maybe you have a thought on this, is that at a certain point in time, if something becomes like a project in your life, then that can be a big setup for expectations and failure and disappointment and frustration and all those kind of things.
I think women have taken on men as a project. And I don't mean that condescendingly. I mean that because we come from such great compassion, I think that women have tolerated a lot. And I'm not saying that men haven't, because women are challenging too in our own ways. But I feel that we really have stuck to a lot through the years. And my Midwestern upbringing I'm from Scandinavian descent. You stayed through thick and thin, which is why leaving my husband at the beginning of this book, which was well over 20 years ago, was so difficult for me, even though I knew that my soul's plan had a different plan. Is you stick with it. You stick with it. So when you don't stick with it, there's a level of guilt that comes and a level of shame. And that's also something I feel really needs to be talked about in this entanglement dynamic, because the empath has to get beyond the guilt and the shame to be in their soul's plan and purpose. Otherwise, it will be stolen from you. You may not survive. You may not survive mentally, physically. You'll end up with disease. You'll end up with emotional trauma that is almost in some cases just irreparable. And I don't say that to scare anyone. I say it out of a reality. I've listened to enough licensed, trained psychiatrists, psychologists that will say that the immune system is heavily influenced by toxic relationships. And so there is lots of reasons to get out. And sometimes getting out also helps the narcissist hit the bottom that they need to hit, so that they do make different choices and decisions. And maybe you have a thought on that. Maybe you'll say, no, that's not true.
No, I do.
Okay.
And it came from a painful breakup with somebody that I loved and cared for. And in the words, or I'm paraphrasing the words, but it was simply that the boundary that I must create is the boundary that I feel safe in which I could still love you. But it's a boundary, and that boundary happens to be a distance and a silence and all the painful things that really entails. Was that purely an outgrowth of a narcissistic relationship? No, not necessarily. It was an outgrowth of a relationship that was not healthy and whole, which was not honoring boundaries. And if we can't honor our own boundaries, then that will ultimately take us back to the same place. That codependency or that rescue, or my God, the other side is worse than where I am. But let's not put a place of value on our health or our happiness or possibility.
Yeah, or our purpose.
Or our purpose.
We came here for a reason.
Indeed. And this is what happens when we say yes to these kind of things. But it really is just a chain on our souls.
Yes.
Potential to fly free into.
Yes.
What we do.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so number three of the empaths is the peacekeeper, the harmonizer. The core belief is it's my role to keep the peace. The shadow expression is avoids conflict or self-expression to maintain harmony. And the lesson is to see that avoiding discomfort often perpetuates imbalance. The integration is harmony through authenticity, peace that includes truth, not silence. So I don't identify with this one personally, but I think this is a big one.
It is
for a lot of people.
It's a big one. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I think I think rhetorically, I would say, is it really true that by not saying anything or doing anything to keep the peace, is it really keeping the peace?
No.
No. It's probably only amplifying what's not peaceful.
Yes. Okay, number 4 of the empaths is the mirror empath. The core belief, if I understand them deeply enough, I can help them change. The shadow expression is takes on others' pain as their own, losing personal frequency clarity. The lesson is to stop merging and start witnessing, awareness without absorption. And the integration is maintain empathy through observation, not entanglement. So that's also a juicy one. And then there's this last one. And again, these are as a result of my work with ChatGPT. So they're not listed anywhere else other than here. Okay. But I think that there's still some really good categories of empaths. And so the 5th one is the overperformer, light leader. The core belief is if I embody enough light, darkness can't touch me. The shadow expression rejects or bypasses personal shadow in the pursuit of purity. Lesson, to integrate both light and shadow as equal aspects of divine power. Integration, authenticity over perfection. Knowing your humanity is the vessel of your divinity. And this one I think is really interesting because I had to learn a lot of these lessons moving to Bali and being a light worker, thinking that, I'm here to live in the light, and then experiencing black magic and all of the energy that has to do with this. And I know I'm a big fan of Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys. And one of the things he says is do the shadow work first. You can open all your upper chakras and become very celestial, but until you're here in this terrestrial realm in your shadow work, you're really not going anywhere. It's going to be a real tough ride. So I think, I like this because I think a lot of people in the light are spiritual bypassing and they're not doing the deeper work of their own shadow work. Yes, I love that one. I feel like that was a transition I made years ago.
All of
to talk
those
about-
are very profound.
Yeah.
And of course, then it brings us back to what are the most important takeaways would you see for an empath? Would it just be a very more holistic balance of self and honoring of self, but care with a boundary? How would you describe, if we circle back, what is the healthy balance for an empath?
I'm going to say it a little bit more from my perspective of where I'm on this empath, but it's really about knowing thyself with discernment, because as much as I know myself and I'm anchored and grounded in myself, and I understand a lot of concepts in consciousness, intellectually, I'm not a weak person. I actually believe a lot in myself. I love myself a lot. I still have work in all of these areas, but I really do. And I'm a very powerful person. I feel that within me. I feel others witness that with me. And yet I was still brought into the blessing, and yes, I'm going to say blessing, of a narcissistic empath entanglement, because it will either crush you or catapult you. And it is so important that as an individual, if you're watching this and you're an empath, to take the catapult, not the crush. And 99.9% of the time, it means you need to leave. And that is the hardest thing for me to do, and the hardest thing for an empath to do, because we know the way and we just want to show you. But when you don't want to go the way, and I'm not saying like a particular way, it has to be our way. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the way of the light. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do as an empath to switch that trajectory. You can say, oh, it's in their soul plan. Oh, we've had a previous life. Oh, we can go and I do all of these things myself, and I learn all about my entanglement beyond just this lifetime. But there is a time and a space where you have to go. And I've done it, and I've gone back and I've gone back and I've gone back and I've gone back, because the person did make incremental changes. They did. And yet the stealthness was still there.
Indeed. And when you do go with the gift.
Yes, of course.
What did you learn?
Yeah. And that's why
So
I always
repeating the pattern.
Yeah, I always say the devils in our lives, the darkest devils in our lives, are our brightest angels, because they show us so much and we learn so much from it if we choose to. And that's always a choice. And we need support to do it. I don't think we can do these things alone. That's why I'm so grateful for not just my birth family, because not everyone has that, but I've cultivated a spiritual family. I've cultivated that family of community that didn't come easy. And especially because I've moved around a lot in my life. So while I might have a community that's easily accessed on phone, they're not always in my community. And so I've really had to work hard to cultivate that. And I encourage everyone to be part of that really loving community. Be with other empaths. Be with other people that see you for who you are, that want to fan your light to make it brighter, as opposed to dim it to make you easier to manipulate and control. So there was one other thing that I felt called to bring forward too, that a list that I've recently created for myself. And so I think we've talked now a lot about the narcissist viewpoint of this. I just went through some of the different types of empaths. And I would like to share a list that I wasn't planning to, but I'm going to, that is what I've experienced. And I want to say it not from a place of ego, but from a place of desiring others who are really strong, who are awake, who are aware, who are on purpose, that you too can find yourself in these entanglements. And it's not something to feel embarrassed or shameful about. There is such a deep purpose to all of these relationships. And so that's, I think, why I feel compelled to share this list, is because I come from a really strong foundation with a really robust spiritual toolbox. And I'm not saying that from a cocky place. I'm saying that from a deserved place.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, thank you. And I want others to know that don't judge yourself for where you might see yourself in this entanglement. Do the work, know thyself, and get out. if you're not seeing any progress. And even when you're seeing progress, keep asking yourself, but do they desire to be a catalyst to my soul's purpose? Because we are at such an incredible time on planet Earth right now, that the awakened ones need to go bigger, go brighter, and shine the light. And if you're still entangled, and I know this feeling, if you're still entangled, you may still be bright, but you can be brighter and you can be on point and on mission in a way like no other that you won't be able to accomplish when you're still holding down the fort, because you're transmuting their emotions. When you're a real empath, you are. So I think I'm going to get into more detail on this in my list. Are you ready for it?
Go for it.
Okay.
Ready.
Okay.
Lay it on us.
Yeah. So I sat writing and I thought this was going to be like maybe the top 5 things, and there's many. So bear with me. So one of the first things that I think everyone experiences in these types of entanglements is the constant belittling, demeaning behavior that makes you cry. Even though you're like the strongest person, you're like, why am I crying? And you're like, because you can feel the lack of acknowledgement for just who you are as a person. It's so bizarre. You can experience feeling like you're almost invisible by someone that you love and that just showed you how much they love you in a different way not that long ago, whether it was this morning, the day before, or whatever. And you're just like, how is this possible? Especially when you're a very powerful, bold, bright light. Like, how is this possible? So we touched on that. If you're just joining in, then you can go back and listen to Adam's list, because he spoke very much about what that feels like from the narcissist side and why you do it.
Right.
Yeah. Diminishing self-worth and dampening my light. Again, these things aren't necessarily, I want to believe that they're not intentional from the narcissist. I think you might say something different, because I always want to go back to the core wound and say, okay, I know how and why, but they do have a lot of acknowledgement within themselves that they're doing this, that this is happening, but I think they just don't know how to stop it. Would that be fair to say from your perspective?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think there's a really deeply unconscious. I think as you can emerge into a little bit of awareness, then they don't know how to stop it. But
Yeah.
it was where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
Good
definitely
point.
say, but repeat that last one again real quickly that you just mentioned.
Diminishing self-worth and dampening
Yeah. Dampen
my light.
down your light. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just like because what happens is when we shine our light so brightly, you see the shadow. And so that creates, and in fairness to a narcissist, honestly, that does not feel good. It's not a bad thing, but it does not feel good, because then you're just seeing your darkness be accentuated. You touched on it earlier, that it almost accentuates some of these narcissistic behaviors, because you're almost defenseless because the light is bright and it's hard to hide. It's hard to hide that part of you when someone is shining the light.
Impossible.
Yeah. But it's such a gift when we sit here waiting, going, it's a gift I'm giving you. And the narcissist is saying, no, it's not. It's,
Don't be doing that.
yeah, exactly. Okay. The third one was disrespecting me in private and public settings. And oftentimes it was so still because it was such a small comment, but it cuts and you just go, oh, okay, maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of this. I know I'm not that. Okay. So you just let it go and you let it go and you let it go. Yeah. Okay. You're being disrespected and you stand up for yourself, and standing up for yourself gets you nowhere, because it just gets them more mad at you. And then they find a way to take a vulnerability that you have and bring that forward too. Something you might have told them, something that they know about you, that they know will cut. And so you start to, as it goes on, you stand up for yourself, and then you're kind of like, okay, let me let that slide, because it's not worth having the ongoing discussion. It's not worth not being heard again. It's not worth not having.
Keep the peace.
So yeah, there's that element of that in there, but it's mostly peace for yourself, actually. Depending upon where you are in your empath journey.
That's valid.
Yeah, you start to pick your battles.
Self-protection.
Yeah.
Muy importante.
You're like, how much energy are you going to put towards this? And number 4, lack of emotional support and security. So those things that I learned in childhood about just the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just feeling supported and safe. I can turn to you no matter what, and I know you're going to be there for me. It's not there. It's unpredictable. It might be there once in a while because they want to keep you feeling, I did this to help you. I did this to support you. I did this to make you feel safe. So they have to put some things out there. But at the end of the day, if you were really in trouble, the chances of relying on that person are probably slim to none, because they're not really there to support you. They're there to support their agenda.
And it speaks to it's obvious, it's a trust factor.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as this. If you can trust somebody 99%, does that make that person trustworthy? And I say, no, it doesn't, because trust is either 100%, either you're going to trust them or you're not going to trust them. And when we're in deep shit and we need somebody to have our back, you want to know somebody's there no matter what the heck is going on. And if there's a doubt,
Yep.
does it work so good? So trust is the key here. And I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful.
The interesting thing too, and I might have this later on the list, is that they find ways to say that you're not trustworthy, me, the empath, that I'm not trustworthy, when it's a twisted story. It was on one of the lists here. Story gets twisted and you're like, wait a second, I am like the most reliable, faithful, committed person.
But you asked a question. You questioned the narcissist. That makes you maybe not trustworthy.
Yeah, and or you're so trustworthy that they have to find something wrong with you so that they can tell others what's wrong with you, so they don't have to see their own.
They're good at that.
Yeah, that's the stealth part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 5, dismissing my needs and concerns. Oh, that's not that big of a deal. You don't need that. Just some things are super harsh and some things are just done a little bit softer, but with a tonality that it's just, really? How is this possible? We're having this conversation. Like, how could you not care about that? And then it's a big deal, right? Then it's oh, you're dramatic. I'm not a dramatic person. So but I know myself. And so I'm bringing these things forward because for people who maybe don't have the same level of awareness, and I'm not saying it from a hierarchical perspective, I'm just saying some people are younger, some people haven't done the work, some people are older, and everybody's at a different place in their journey. And so we go back to question ourselves sometimes. And I'm just saying, I wasn't even questioning myself. And I'm like, how is this happening to me? How are these things really happening?
Powerful.
Yeah. Number 6, using triangulation to manipulate situations by involving third parties.
There we go. Comes right back.
Oh,
again.
my goodness. It was just like, wait, how is this possible? No, I'm not jealous. No, I said I'm totally fine with you connecting with your ex-partner. I'm just saying, if you want to be in a relationship with them, a friendship, that I would meet them and that there would be trust and transparency. Not too much to ask.
No.
And I think it's pretty bold to be like, hey, like,
not in a healthy context.
No, of course not.
It should be front and center.
you can hang out with whoever you want. Just let me know, because I do the same for you.
They're not trustworthy.
Yeah. And I think we talked about triangulation in other situations too. And I think when it's like at work and the family and how they get everybody around, your best friends will suddenly be buying their story. And you're like, wait, you know me for 30 years. How are you buying that story? But it's because they have such a powerful, charismatic way of twisting it that an empath would never do, because we just tell the truth. We wouldn't actually twist something to that level to make it feel, look, smell believable. So it's a no-win situation, because we're never going to play that dirty. We just aren't. Any comments?
No. I'm ready for the next one as well.
Okay.
What is next? I'm just like going, wow, these are very powerful and important.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of this. Encourage everybody to take a re-listen at pieces of this if need be, because there's so much good stuff here.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Number 7, financial manipulation and withholding funds as punishment. I love you so much. You're my treasure. You're my jewel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not doing that for you, or I'm not giving you that because you might leave me.
Yeah.
It's, oh my God, You leave out of self-preservation and then suddenly you're the one abandoning them. Interesting. Okay, number 8. Or it could be the opposite, which is what you talked about, which is they could be giving you money and entangling you and creating a codependency on them for whatever it is. Maybe it's that you don't even need the money, but it's a different lifestyle that you can live, or it's a different, that happens. That happens too.
From both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Number 8, disrespecting my time and prioritizing his own needs.
Of course.
Let's wait. I have been waiting here for how long to leave when I set out that, hey, are we okay to leave at 8 a.m. or whatever it is, and really caring about their time and respecting what is it that you would like to accomplish today? What do you want to do before we leave? And oh yeah, and then before you know it, it's 11 o'clock and you still haven't left the house, and they've never asked you about your needs or your wants or your desires, but there you are, continually being nice, being compassionate towards whatever it is that they have on their schedule, which may be nothing. But it's another element of control. It's just controlling. It's like, how much will you put up with? How much can I control the entire environment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 9, being kind to others while being cruel to me. It's that charismatic part that's out there, making friends with everybody on the street corner and doing everything that makes you look just so perfect and like the perfect partner. Yeah. And then behind closed doors, it's a different situation. And you just think, wait, why is that so different? What is on the other side of that door? We know what it is, right? It's image. It's an image that needs to be, it's an illusion that needs to be upheld, that they are the one that's great and you are the one that's crazy. There's just a really interesting dynamic there. Any comments?
Keep going.
Okay. Twisting narratives and spreading degrading stories. Wait, that's not how it happened. Oh, wait, I actually have a really good memory. And, oh, no, that's not what happened at all. But it is to them. And they believe it. Like if they would give up a firstborn child, swearing that this is the way that it happened.
Right? Yeah.
But it's nothing like what had happened. Or it is something like what had happened.
Yes.
But the really important details of what they actually did
Yes.
to create the situation gets left out.
Yes, exactly. Very selective memory.
Yes.
But more than that,
Yes.
you know, how profound. These are so profound. I'm sitting there, and of course, I'm listening to you from my own lens of perception and tuning to it. And it seems very familiar to me in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it's, in one way, feeling like even a deeper connection with what this means to those that been in my own sphere of narcissism. They really even just
You mean like the empaths in your life, or?
being the narcissist and then the empaths in my life, and
Yeah.
listening to you as you're articulating these things, and not all of them familiar. And they're familiar because I know I've lived them or experienced or projected them or done it to one degree or another. So it's very profound to be listening and tuning to this with you.
Yeah.
And also how that I can feel that and understand that at a deeper level and at a deeper place within my own personal journey. So thank you for bringing it up, from my narcissism to your empathic being on the other end.
Yeah.
Of it. It's kind of it's quite profound.
Yeah.
And
And
in some way, I trust people will hear that.
yes. And I think maybe the other thing that's so important to take away, and to be honest, I'm not done with the list yet, but
Okay.
the other thing to take away is that I'm laughing and you're laughing, and we're not laughing at the situation because they're very deep, difficult scenarios to go through. But I want people to know that there is another side, the other side of it, not another side, but the other side of this. And yeah, and that's really the important thing, I think, to focus on. So we're going to go through a few more, and then there's a few more points, and I think we're down to the hour again. Okay, so number 11, exploiting my commitment to the relationship.
exploiting your
Yeah.
commitment.
My commitment to the
What
relationship.
does that look like?
Lots of trauma, lots of drama, lots of chaos, lots of belittling, lots of demeaning, lots of disrespecting, and saying, that's not tolerable. That's not tolerable. That's not tolerable. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm not going to participate in that. Actually, I'm going to have to leave. If you do that again, I'm going to have to leave. So I've had to practice this many times. If this happens, then I'm going to leave the room. I won't leave you, but I'm going to leave the room. But if this continues to happen and I continue to have to leave the room, then I'm going to need to leave you. I'm going to need to remove myself out of self-preservation. It's not abandonment, but to them, it's abandonment. And they tell everybody it's abandonment. She's abandoning me. She's left. She's not committed, but I'm committed because I'm still here. And I wouldn't break up with her no matter what. Of course not. Why would you break up with me?
Yes. Very good point, that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a tough one because then when you go back, you go, no, I came back because I transmuted all of the emotions that you have projected onto me. I have forgiven all of the things that you have done. And now I'm back with a fresh slate. Let me see, how can we do things differently? How can I do things differently? And there's no reward for coming back. There's actually punishment for coming back.
Oh,
Whether it's on all levels.
percent.
Yes,
It just only gets precipitously more difficult
exactly.
and worse, so to speak.
Worse, so to speak, and the communications become stronger about how they're going to change, but the behaviors aren't consistent, aren't aligned with the promises. So more promises come because they know that the end is coming near, and they know that this is the pattern because they've had the pattern for a long time, and you're not the first person to have left them. Number 12, ignoring me and creating angry outbursts over minor interactions, which was something that you spoke about. I was like, oh my goodness, how do we get to Z on this spectrum when we were just having a happy moment? That trigger, that, wow, wait, over what? Over laundry detergent? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that can be also really scary, actually, because as an empath, we're like, I have no idea where that came from. And we want to say, wait, what did I do? How do I play into this? Oh, how can I be different? Oh, how did I trigger? Oh, how did I not support that well enough? Oh, maybe I could have gone up and touched them and said, oh, honey, it's okay. You'll be okay. No. Yes, we can, but no. At the end of the day, the touch you can try, but that's not necessarily going to change the deeper core wound. It's not going to change what the trigger was. It might console them and it might enable them more.
Yes.
And it might make you feel better because you've done something that you think is nice, but it's still not going to change the depth of what's happening within that individual, which is torturous to watch, especially as an empath. Oh no, there's another way here. Just go in, just go through it, as you said.
Yes.
But until someone makes that decision, there's nothing you can do. Breaking trust by meeting other women without transparency. So I touched on that, right? So I don't care. I'm not a jealous person. I actually know that I'm a really great person, and I'm a great person and a great catch in a sense to be in a relationship with. So if there's someone out there that speaks your fancy more, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right.
Just be honest with me, and then I can move on too.
Yeah.
But so even on a friend level, I don't have friends that I don't tell my partner about. If I'm friends with an ex-partner, great. But I want to make sure that my partner feels included, understands my relationship. Yeah, I can.
And invited to do the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to give permission.
Super
for
healthy.
These kind of things.
Super healthy. But then it goes back to one of the other ones where it gets twisted on you, and then you're told that you're the jealous one, and that why would that be a problem? And so you're constantly having to defend yourself, which is also part of this whole entanglement, that you're finding yourself spending all this energy defending yourself when you're actually not the one creating the problem.
This is quite a comprehensive list you put together.
Isn't it?
Oh my goodness sakes. It says a lot about your own work with
Yes.
all this journey.
You won't be surprised by number 14.
I value at all that.
Number 14 is gaslighting and deflecting accountability
We've been talking
for
about
his actions. Yes.
Yeah.
And that is honestly the crux of it all. It really is the crux of it all, and we all have to take accountability for our own shit. And yeah, little shit, big shit, it's our responsibility. No one can do the work for us. So as much as we try, we are actually, none of us are healers. And I know you're a big Course in Miracles guy, and I'm a big Course in Miracles person as well. And it's all an inside job. And we are already perfect, healed, and whole. It's just unraveling the mind and unveiling the illusions that I talk about in my first book that helps you get back to who you are, which is pure love, which is absolute pure love. And so the Course has been such a significant factor in my life. I don't use it on a daily basis today, but it was at a time in my life a very good one. And then 15 is all about trauma bonding. I was like, no, it's not possible that I could be trauma bonded because I'm smarter than that. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I just was like, because I can see, I'm intuitive, I'm psychic, and I could see it all.
Yeah.
But what we don't realize is the chemicals in our brain are creating a trauma bond. And I think a lot of times people get the word trauma bonding, and maybe there's multiple definitions of it, but the definition that I know it to be, and from other psychiatrists and psychologists, is not the misconception that, oh, they have abandonment and I have abandonment, so we're bonding on that wound. There's something to that. I'm not saying that there's not, but true trauma bonding is when someone is creating a very loving situation and then they're creating a very chaotic situation. And then the person is feeling traumatized by the chaos, and then the love comes back. And so as someone receiving this, they start to become in this trauma loop where there's trauma and then there's enforcement and there's empowerment and love. And so you're always waiting for the love. You're always waiting for the love to come back. And as a super empath, you want nothing more than for that love to come back, not because you need it from them. For some people, that is the case, but not for a super empath. It's because you want them to see it in themselves. And so you want them to see that so much that you stay thinking, okay, it's gonna come back. And there's actually a well-known condition that happens with prisoners and the guards that is very much in this trauma bonding. And I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it in the notes if anybody wants to see. You can say in the comments and I'll find the data where this trauma bonding happens. And it's actually a chemical response, and it's exactly a chemical response like alcohol and drug addiction, which is so bizarre and wild to think about. But so when you're in this trauma bond, it creates a bond that it's almost like I think the way I would describe it is it feels very hypnotic, because this is not healthy. And yet you stay for reasons that you're not really sure. You're like, I think I have a story as to why, but
it's a bit addictive. And there is a word for this.
Yeah, but it is because you're waiting for the person that you know and love to come forward. You're waiting for that person that you know is deeply in there, but it's not ready to be in touch with themselves. It's not ready to love themselves. So that's the real tough part of being a super empath is, knowing when it's time to leave is not actually that difficult. We know. If you're a super empath, you've known for a long time, you just keep wanting to see them make the next move and see them make the next move. And move meaning evolution, move meaning stepping through, move meaning like they're making progress, that they're right on the precipice of waking up. On that, I think we have so much more to talk about. And one of the things that we spoke that we're going to dive into, and I think can be in the next segment, is about how you went from being a narcissist to a spiritual narcissist and what that entails, because that's a whole nother juicy box of discussion here for us to talk about, because it's a whole nother mask that takes on a lot more components and is even probably more enticing for the super empath.
It still has narcissism.
But it's still narcissism.
Dynamic, just with a little different flavor and a little different color. And,
yes.
But Ben, looking forward to this. Let's do that here next.
All right. Stay tuned. If you like anything that we've talked about or you have your own thoughts and comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments and then subscribe. It's the way that you'll know when I drop new episodes and when you can find out when we go live and what's happening next on Beth Bell Live. All right. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Take care.
If this episode brought clarity or resonance, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs this message today. Your engagement amplifies the light and helps this work reach the hearts that are ready to awaken. Subscribe to follow the full 3-part series on the empath narcissist entanglement and to receive access to all upcoming wisdom sessions and insights. Let's heal our hearts, reclaim our power, and rise to the next level of humanity together in sovereignty.